My friends across the Atlantic, men and women of Venezuela, I speak to you tonight from a distance measured not merely in miles, but in the shared experience of free peoples everywhere who have known both the blessings of liberty and the shadow of its absence. I address you not as a stranger to your struggles, but as one who has witnessed throughout a long life the eternal contest between freedom and tyranny, between the governed and those who would govern without consent, between the light of democratic institutions and the darkness of arbitrary power. What I have learned through decades of service, through war and peace, through triumph and catastrophe, I feel compelled to share with you now at this critical juncture in your nation's history. Venezuela, that magnificent land of Simón Bolívar, stands today at a crossroads. You are a people of extraordinary character, descended from those who broke the chains of empire and proclaimed to the world that South America would be free. The spirit of El Libertador runs in your veins. The courage that drove Spanish dominion from your shores has not perished. It lives still in the hearts of your workers, your students, your professionals, your farmers, in all those who cherish the memory of what your ancestors won and who understand what you now stand to lose. I have observed with profound interest and growing concern the path your nation has traveled in recent years. I know that some among you have been told that stability has been achieved, that order has replaced chaos, that prosperity has come through strength concentrated in the hands of military rule. I know that buildings have risen, that roads have been paved, that the machinery of modernization has ground forward. These are not small accomplishments. No honest man dismisses them. But I must speak to you with the frankness that difficult times demand. I must tell you what history has taught me, often through bitter instruction, that stability without liberty is a house built upon sand, that order imposed by force is order that will not endure, and that prosperity enjoyed without freedom is prosperity that corrodes the very soul of a nation. The concentration of power in one man or in a small circle of men in uniform may appear efficient. It may seem to offer certainty in uncertain times. When institutions are weak and divisions run deep, the appeal of a strong hand is understandable. I do not judge harshly those who in moments of national difficulty have looked to military rule as a solution to seemingly intractable problems. But I have seen where this path leads. I have watched nations sacrifice their liberties on the altar of security, only to discover that they have achieved neither. I have seen peoples exchange their birthright for promises of order, only to find themselves impoverished in spirit, even as material improvements surround them. I have witnessed the slow suffocation of national vitality when the genius of a people is subordinated to the will of those who rule by decree rather than by consent. Let no one mistake me. I am not an idealist who believes that democracy is easy or that freedom solves all problems by its mere existence. Democracy is difficult. It is quarrelsome. It requires patience and compromise. It demands that we listen to voices we find disagreeable and accommodate interests we do not share. Democratic institutions are imperfect instruments fashioned by imperfect human beings operating in an imperfect world. Yet for all its flaws, democracy possesses a quality that no dictatorship, however benevolent in intention, can replicate. It possesses the capacity for self-correction. When democratic governments err, the people may remove them. When democratic policies fail, they may be changed. When democratic leaders betray the public trust, they may be called to account. The circulation of power, the alternation of parties, the machinery of checks and balances, these are not merely procedural niceties. They are the very mechanisms by which free societies adapt, survive, and ultimately flourish. What is true for all nations is doubly true for a nation as talented and resourceful as yours. Venezuela does not lack for capable men and women. You do not suffer from a shortage of intelligence or industry. Your natural wealth is legendary. Your strategic position is enviable. Your cultural contributions to the civilization of the Americas are substantial. Yet all these advantages count for little if they cannot be placed in service of a political order that represents the freely expressed will of the Venezuelan people. I speak particularly to the young men and women of Venezuela, those who will inherit whatever future we old men leave to you. Do not accept the counsel of those who tell you that your people are not ready for democracy, that Latin temperament requires a firm hand, that stability must precede freedom. These are the ancient excuses of tyrants, dressed in modern language. They are the same arguments I've heard throughout my life, in every corner of the globe, whenever men sought to justify their grip on power. The peoples of Britain were once thought too factious for self-government. The peoples of India were told they must be ruled for their own good. The peoples of Eastern Europe now groan under totalitarian systems that promised them paradise and delivered something far different. Always the promise is the same. Surrender your freedom now, and paradise will arrive tomorrow. Always the result is the same. Tomorrow never comes. I tell you this, there is no people on earth incapable of self-government. There is no nation that must choose between progress and freedom. These are false choices, manufactured by those who benefit from their acceptance. Democratic governance and economic development are not enemies, but partners. The strongest, most prosperous, most stable nations on earth are those where power flows from the consent of the governed, where institutions are stronger than individuals, where the rule of law constrains the actions of rulers and ruled alike. Your military officers, I do not doubt, are patriots. They have taken up arms in service to Venezuela, and that service deserves recognition. But military rule, however well-intentioned, cannot substitute for civilian governance. The soldier's virtue is obedience. The citizen's virtue is judgment. The military mind is trained for command. The democratic mind is trained for deliberation. These are different excellencies, suited to different purposes. When military virtues replace civilian virtues in the governance of a nation, something essential is lost. That spirit of debate, that tolerance of disagreement, that willingness to be persuaded by argument rather than compelled by force. I have commanded men in war. I know the necessity of military discipline and the value of decisive leadership when national survival hangs in the balance. But I also know that what serves in war becomes tyranny in peace. The hierarchy appropriate to a regiment becomes oppression in a republic. The orders that save lives on the battlefield destroy civic life in the capital. Venezuela's future lies not in the continuation of rule by military decree, but in the restoration and strengthening of democratic institutions. Your nation requires a government that draws its legitimacy from free elections, that governs through representative assemblies, that respects the independence of courts, that protects the freedom of the press, that allows opposition voices to be heard, and that prepares for its own peaceful replacement by those who may disagree with its policies, but share its commitment to constitutional order. This is not a call for chaos or revolution. It is a call for evolution, for transition, for the patient construction of durable democratic institutions. Such work is not glamorous. It does not offer the dramatic satisfactions of revolutionary transformation. It requires compromise, negotiation, and the acceptance of incremental progress. But it is the only path that leads to genuine stability, the stability that comes not from suppression, but from legitimacy, not from fear, but from consent. I am aware that some will accuse me of meddling in affairs that are not my concern. They will say that an Englishman has no business lecturing Venezuelans about their government. To this I reply, freedom is the concern of all free peoples. Democracy is not the possession of any one nation, but the inheritance of humanity. When I see a people struggling towards self-government, I cannot remain silent, any more than I could remain silent when tyranny threatened Europe, or when totalitarianism cast its shadow across the world. Moreover, I speak not as an outsider, but as a friend. Britain and Venezuela share ties of commerce, culture, and mutual respect. We have no imperial designs upon you. We seek no advantage from your troubles. We wish only to see you achieve the destiny that your talents and resources deserve, a destiny that can only be realized through the restoration of democratic governance. Let me conclude with words of encouragement and hope. I have lived long enough to see impossible things become possible. I have seen nations rise from the ashes of defeat. I have seen peoples throw off tyrannies that appeared invincible. I have seen the human spirit triumph over circumstances that seemed to forbid all hope. You Venezuelans are the heirs of Bolivar, who defeated armies thought unbeatable. You are the children of those who created independent republics from colonial dependencies. You have within you the capacity for greatness, not merely in material accomplishments, but in political wisdom. The democratic tradition in Latin America is older and deeper than many acknowledge. You need not import foreign models wholesale. You need only reclaim, not it rightfully yours, the republican principles upon which your nation was founded, adapted to present circumstances and strengthened by the lessons of experience. The road ahead will not be easy. Those who hold power seldom relinquish it willingly. Interests that benefit from the current arrangement will resist change. The transition from military rule to civilian governance is always fraught with difficulty and danger. But difficulty is not impossibility. Danger may be faced. Obstacles may be overcome. What matters is that you, the people of Venezuela, remain faithful to the democratic ideal. What matters is that you do not allow fear to silence your voice or weariness to sap your will. What matters is that you understand in the depths of your being that freedom is not a gift bestowed by rulers, but a right inherent in your humanity, and that this right must be claimed and defended by each generation. To the farmers in your campus, to the workers in your cities, to the students in your universities, to the professionals in your offices, to the mothers raising children who will inherit your choices, I say this: you are not alone. The cause of democracy is the cause of civilization itself. Those of us who cherish freedom watch your struggle with admiration and solidarity. We know that courage takes many forms, not only the courage of the battlefield, but the courage of the ballot box, the courage to speak truth when silence is safer, the courage to demand what is right when power counsels submission. Venezuela, the eyes of the free world are upon you. History is watching. Your children and your children's children will judge what you do in these critical days. Will they say that you preserved the flame of liberty through dark times? Will they say that you chose the harder right over the easier wrong? Will they say that you were worthy of the legacy Bolivar left you? I believe they will. I believe that the spirit of freedom cannot be extinguished, that the desire for self-government cannot be permanently suppressed, and that the Venezuelan people will in due course reclaim their democratic birthright. When that day comes, and come it will, you will discover what free peoples everywhere have learned, that the struggle for liberty, however difficult, is always worth the cost, and that the sweetness of freedom, once tasted, can never be forgotten. May Providence guide you, may wisdom direct your steps, and may you find in the trials ahead the courage and determination that have sustained free peoples throughout history in their long march toward justice, dignity, and self-government. Good night and good fortune.